Pleasure speaking in front of you all today. Now, who here has $17.4 million just lying around burning a hole in their pocket? I know I personally don't. This was the settlement cause from a company not so different from Fruitland, where 5 female employees were being sexually harassed by their coworkers. This is the exact situation that we are trying to avoid.
We are Cuban Consultant. I'm here with my name is Dominique Patel, and I'm here with my partner, Tyler Ronzello. And today we will be talking about workplace relationships as well as workplace romance and the overall delicate balancing act, such as the legal, ethical, and of course interpersonal challenges that come with it. Today we will be providing you our tailored advice on how to handle the complexities of these challenges with confidence and clarity. So now let's take a step back and start at the source, the problem. Well, what exactly is the problem? The problem is Fruitland Enterprises' current code of conduct. Personal relationships between managers and team members that report to them are prohibited. Tyler?
Sure. Like Dominique said, simply, it's Fruitland's code of conduct as it currently stands. It's too short, too broad, and not comprehensive enough for a company this size. And because of this, it leaves Fruitland vulnerable to a myriad of legal and financial issues, as well as ethical situations can arise where there is dilemmas, and it can create an environment where problems can occur. Today, we are going to go over and bring you along on a little journey going over our ethical rationale, our legal framework, and our financial reasoning, and ultimately end up with our policy suggestions and our winning strategy.
Now that we've addressed the problem, it's important to understand that we must consider what are the best ways and, of course, most professional ways we can ethically handle them. We Cuban Consulting recommend that you, Fruitland Enterprises, allow workplace romance within your corporation. However, provide strict guidelines as well as procedures and defined policies to ensure that your overall organization remains productive and, of course, positive. And with that, we want to know, how exactly can we professionally handle this in an ethical way? We believe that incorporating the concepts of the objectivism ethics model will most likely give you the best way of handling the risk of course, workplace romance. The objectivism ethics model was coined by Russian philosopher Ayn Rand, and essentially it incorporates concepts of individualism, personal responsibility, as well as reasoning. The objectivism model promotes that all individuals have the right to pursue their rationalized self-interest, but they also have the responsibility to ensure that their actions are not impacting their organization as well as each other in a negative way. We believe that the overall objectivism model will ensure that your corporation will be able to ethically mitigate these risks. How can we overall apply the objectivism model into the Fruitland's corporate structure? Well, by allowing your organization to have workplace romance, however, under strict guidelines and policies, you are essentially promoting the concept of rationalized self-interest. You are allowing your employees to be able to interact with each other, to pursue love. However, they must follow strict guidelines. In this case, you are promoting that you have an individual responsibility to yourself, but also to your organization. By this, you are ensuring that your employees know that they must respect their rights, but also the rights of their coworkers to have a productive environment to flourish in. The objectivism model overall promotes straightforwardness, honesty, as well as critical thinking. It's important to ensure that with the objectivism model, we know that you must provide clear guidelines as well as honest communication. This means that you are mitigating the risk of miscommunication, manipulation, and of course, malintentions. Also, the objectivism model promotes professionalism. You're promoting reasoning. You are promoting that as a corporation, you identify that your employees are adults. They are capable of making their own decision. However, they must prioritize professionalism as well as productivity to ensure that there is not disruption within the workplace environment. So now that we've covered the ethics model that or framework we recommend using, let's talk more about the legal factors.
Sure. So, what are some of the legal implications that we have to think about? And I'll start with 2 questions that you should keep in mind. Firstly is, what are the lawsuits that are happening and some of the most common ones? And secondly, what can Fruitland do to protect itself from these? Let's take a look at the environment. Some of the most common sexual harassment charges that are filed are being discharged or being wrongfully fired, sexual harassment that does not necessarily have to be in a workplace romance, which can be in the form of stalking, can be in the form of, can be in the form of invasion of privacy, and terms and conditions, also known as quid pro quo. You do something for me, and I'll do a little bit of something for you, and sometimes these situations can turn sour, and ultimately lawsuits will arise. Now that we understand some of the environmental factors that go on in some of the main lawsuits, what laws can you use to protect yourself? Well, we believe that Fruitland should have a strong legal backbone in regards to their code of conduct. Firstly, the statute at the top of the PowerPoint here is going to be our first vertebrae. This is Title 29. This goes over what sexual harassment is, when it goes too far, and importantly, it says that if companies facilitate an environment where sexual harassment can occur and they do nothing about it, they will and can be sued. Our second vertebrae is going to be Title 7. This is a more broad encompassment of sexual and harassment protection. This deals with protected classes such as age, sex, and race. Our thought process and our rationale for this is to instill a strong cultural emphasis that harassment of any type at Fruitland is not only wrong, but goes against our code of conduct and is frankly illegal. Now, we keep talking about the code of conduct. What are some of the situational factors and implications that we should be thinking of when creating this new policy? Dominique, can you expand a little bit?
Absolutely. So here are the following legal considerations that must be implemented into your new policy or code of conduct. It's important to ensure that you are promoting anti-discrimination and anti-harassment. As Tyler had elaborated previously, ensuring that your policy aligns with Title 29 as well as Title 7. Also, ensuring and prioritizing consensual relationships. You are, after all, allowing workplace romance to happen within your organization. However, they still must apply with the legal regulation, procedures, and policies that we are introducing. 4, ensure and let your employees know that you, above all, prioritize their privacy. At the end of the day, they are still individuals with their own lives. Ensure that you care about their private lives, but you also care about their lives within the organization as well. 5, preventing conflict of interest. Most likely, the best way to do this would be to ensure no power imbalance relationships, as of course, the situations where a manager and a reporting team member are in a relationship will cause conflict of interest. And of 6, retaliation. We all know employees sometimes are afraid to speak out on sexual harassment or factors that may be bothering them within the workplace due to fear of losing their job, due to fear of their coworkers turning against them. Ensuring that your policies protect your employees against retaliation amongst each other is a perfect way of showing your employees that you care about their well-being, you care about how they are in the organization, and also protecting yourself as an organization.
So, let's talk some numbers here. I'm going to begin by talking about the industry payouts from companies that are resolved around sexual harassment lawsuits. So, from 2014 to 2017, companies paid nearly $170 million in lawsuit fees resolving around sexual harassment. Moving a little bit closer to today, this number has jumped 53% and is now around $250 to almost $300 million in legal fees alone. This is alarming that companies are paying nearly $1/3 of $1 billion in just lawsuits alone. However, this is not the only financial cost that companies go over and problems associated. So let's uncover some that are not as visible to the eye. First is the cost of the lack of productivity. So, an employee that isn't involved in a sexual harassment case can cost a company around $22,000 worth of damage. Now, how about we just apply this to Fruitland? Fruitland has 37,000 employees. Let's say that there's 5 ongoing lawsuits with 10 people in total. Okay, 10 people times 22,000 is nearly $250,000 in just legal fees alone, and we haven't even called our lawyers yet. This is something that we're trying to avoid. Second is the cost of employees' perception of the workplace. We believe that it is imperative that Fruitland instills a strong cultural emphasis on reputation and have it be paramount. Our reasoning for this, and I can give you a quick example, is if there was a bank down the road, let's say that they had a reputation of being liars and cheaters. Would you do business with them? Would you invest your money with them? I know I personally wouldn't. Fruitland should have the same reputation standards as most banks. And so, what happens if they don't have a good reputation and employees are unhappy and they don't have a positive viewpoint of their workplace? Well, employees in the United States alone cause around $500 million worth of damage just because they're unhappy to go to work. This may be alarming. However, what are some objectives and some goals that we can try to reach for and try to tackle some of these financial problems? Firstly, and most obvious, reduce potential lawsuits. The average sexual harassment lawsuit is around $50,000, and that may be considered on the low end. As you guys heard earlier, one of these lawsuits ranged up to $17 million. Costs like these can put companies out of business, flat out. Secondly is employee retention. Employees that are involved in sexual harassment lawsuits that do not get resolved, a third of them actually end up leaving. And we know it is vastly more expensive to have somebody new come on than it is to keep them in-house. And we want to keep our employees. They're valuable to us. And third, and maybe most importantly, is eliminating the potential risk. Some of the most successful companies in the world practice risk aversion, and we believe that Fruitland should be no different. This takes the form in two ways: reputation damage control and reducing productivity loss when possible. We can see by the numbers just how devastating it can be if there are sexual harassment lawsuits going on, and if your employees do not have a strong reputation and viewpoint of the company that they work for. Now, we've gone over and hit our ethical, legal, and financial bases. What are some of our policy implementations? And ultimately, we're going to end with our winning solution. Dominique?
Absolutely. So we, Cupid Consulting, have drafted 3 key recommendations that we recommend you should implement within your organization to mitigate the risk of workplace romance, as well as allowing workplace relationships. Starting with our 3 solutions. Number 1, love in the workplace curriculum. Number 2, developing an employee relations unit. And last but not least, creating an employee protection program. Number 1, what exactly is the Love in the Workplace curriculum? This is a curriculum that we have drafted for you to include within your overall onboarding training when hiring employees. This is a curriculum that must be completed within a 90-day period. What is overall incorporated into this curriculum? Overall, this curriculum will explain Fruitland Enterprises' stance on workplace romance, what is and what is not allowed, what is tolerated. It will encourage concepts such as professionalism, prioritizing productivity, and also, again, incorporating ideologies from the objectivism ethics model, that you are an employee, you are an adult. You have a responsibility to your corporation or your organization, to yourself, and to your employees. However, you do have the right to pursue your own rationalized self-interest. You do have the right to pursue a relationship with amongst each other, with whomever you desire, as long as it abides with the policies of that organization. We also include informing or, of course, emphasizing concepts such as consent forms. What is a consent form? We believe that when employees decide to couple engage in either a romantic, sexual, or some type of coupling or partnership of the sort, it should be acknowledged by the organization. A consent form should be filled out by all parties involved to ensure that Fruitland acknowledges that there is interaction amongst each other, but also to protect the employee themselves. This consent form should emphasize concepts such as no PDA allowed on company grounds during working hours, as to prevent distraction within the workplace, as well as no power imbalance relationships. That way we eliminate possibilities of conflict of interest. And of course, last but not least, counseling services. This should be included within the employee benefits package. The purpose of this is to show your employee that they're not just another keg in the overall corporation rule. They are someone that is valued within the organization. They're someone that matters. Therefore, by promoting that, you prioritize mental health, inclusivity, and positivity as well. This shows your employees that my organization cares about me. I am valued, and therefore I am a team member, and I should also play my role in ensuring that I am responsible for producing a productive environment. Number 2, employee relations unit. Your eye, your enforcers, your support. Consider this your middleman. we believe that you should create a sub-department or unit within your HR department. This unit will strictly handle all things employee relations as well as workplace romance. They are in charge of ensuring that all employees complete the curriculum, as well as abide by policies and standards enforced by Fruitland Enterprises. They are in charge of keeping track of consent forms, as well as ensuring if there were to be a sexual harassment investigative case open, they will be handling this as well. These are essentially your eyes for which you can, and which places in which you cannot see. They will ensure that your employees abide by the policies, both management alike as well, and reporting members, and overall promote a positive and inclusive work environment that promotes productivity. Now we have developed an employee protection program. The purpose of the employee protection program is simply to create a fortress of protection for your employees. And we know that 60% of women oftentimes are afraid to announce that they are engaged in some type of sexual harassment conduction within their workplace, and 79% of men are afraid to report any issues at all. This is a problem. This shows that employees do not feel safe within their work environment to promote or announce any type of sexual harassment, any type of misconduct going on between themselves. The purpose of this protection program is to ensure that you are protecting your employees should they decide that they have enough evidence and there is some type of sexual misconduct happening. Because compare it to the overall United States Federal Witness Protection Program. The United States has a protection witness program and a witness protection program in which witnesses their identities are protected before, during, and after the trial for investigative cases. This serves the same purpose, in which an investigative case is open, your employees will be protected. Their identities, as well as all parties involved, will be protected throughout the case investigation, so that we are promoting a constructive environment, one that produces productivity, and of course, protection for your employees. That way their privacy, along with their reputation, and their overall identity is protected. And of course, we're not creating rumors or any factors of the sort. So overall, how can we ensure that these changes are implemented? There are two ways or areas in which change must happen: policy change and cultural changes. We are using the Lewin's change model, a management model created on how organizations can implement permanent change within their internal structure. During the unfreeze stage for the policy change, we are creating awareness and understanding. This is the stage in which you are addressing the conflict. You are addressing that there is a need, there is a change that must be made. Let's make our organization aware of that. During this stage, you will be educating all your employees. As I've heard before, the Love in the Workplace onboarding curriculum is a wonderful tool to do so, as well as addressing all resistance. During the change phase, this is when you are implementing the change. This is the action. You will be revising and updating all policies, such as the Code of Conduct. We will be updating that to make sure that legal factors are considered as well. Provide training. Again, this will tie hand in hand with the overall curriculum that we suggested, as well as enforce policies consistently and fairly. And then refreeze. This is essentially cementing your new normal within the organization. During this phase, you will monitor the enforcement of policies after they have been implemented. The purpose of the Employee Relations Unit will do so. Gather feedback as well as make adjustments as necessary. Next, we identified that this model can be used to enforce cultural change. We understand that oftentimes resistance is due to a set culture within an organization that employees are not willing to change. They are used to it. This is their normal. Well, during the unfreeze stage, we advise that, again, you will bring attention to the situation. Educate your employees. During the change phase, you will encourage open communication, respect, as well as professionalism. And then, of course, by cementing your new normal, you will do so by monitoring the work culture, as well as gathering feedback and making adjustments. Overall, we recommend that using Lewin's change management model will overall permanent and cement your organizational change and ensure that Fruitland remains productive.
Thank you, everybody, for going on this journey with us. If anybody has any questions or concerns, you're more than welcome to ask them now.